The password is Frunabulax.
Unknown submarine contact in the vital area. Away the Nixie team away. Away the Nixie team away. Set general quarters. Set general quarters. General quarters, all hands, ready battle station. General quarters, all hands, ready battle station.
Tonight, Clint and BZ are going to tear through the gristle of today's screaming headlines and rip out the sinewy tendons of truth ensconced within, all from the hoary streets of Shattermental Fornicality, exposing the trembling toadies, the sniveling jackanapes, and the fripperous fop-doodles, infesting altogether too much of this great nation of ours. Please feel free to partake of our chat room at shrmedia.com, featuring the effervescent contrarian, Sackheads Clint, one each, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of the Zepmeister, doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure, and double the hosts. Some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included. Terracross dotted line. Hell and egg. Patent pending. Warranty void. In Montenegro tonight, Clint and BZ will talk about a veritable gaggle. No, a shrewdness, a murmuration, an obstinacy, a war and a pandemonium, a gaggle, a muster, a covey, an unkindness, a maelstrom, a knot, a shiver, a murder, an intrusion, a smack, a tower, a hive, a prickle, yea, a veritable cauldron of topics. Yonder across from me is Sackheads Clint, and I will be your server and obese, somnambulistic reprobate for tonight. Sorry, we do not take American Express or personal checks. Remember, this is only an exhibition, not a competition, so please.
No wagering.
Okay, there we go.
Push the button, BZ.
Push the button.
Push the button.
There
Push
we
the button.
go.
There
It's Sackheads Clint right there.
Right here.
Good
right.
evening.
Right here.
There he is.
Yeah, there I am. I'm right. There.
How
How are you? Are you chanting? Why are you
there
chanting?
we go. There's the
Why are
two
you
of
chanting?
us. Oh.
By the way, I need to compliment you on your shirt. Now, I don't know how many people under the age of would understand that shirt.
75.
I understood that shirt.
I know you do.
I still watch those, by the way.
Here's
So if you can't see BZ's shirt,
Okay.
can you get a camera angle for? So it's and really the key. You can't see this shirt. So for those of you listening on radio, I want to describe it to you. The shirt is red in color. It has stamped in black across the front, almost like an old-time stamp, like where you have the ink pad and then you stamp papers. It says expendable. And then above the left chest area, it has what appears to be an arrowhead. And that's what I'm going to say. It appears to have a gold arrowhead. It is shaped like an arrowhead, is it not? With the tip pointing up. And so for those of you in chat who can't see, does anybody have any idea what that would be from? So that is the symbol from Star Trek.
Yes.
The original series, Star Trek.
Yes, and it went over to some of the other series as well, and then it kind of futzed around with it.
It did.
Little bit. So I'm expendable.
But really, the key is the color to the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Because and that's what makes the shirt
That's what
comedic.
makes it funny.
Because in the original Star Trek series, Captain Kirk wore a yellow shirt. The captain of the Enterprise wore yellow.
And McCoy wore
Blue.
and Spock wore
blue.
But there were two exceptions, though. There were two exceptions.
Well, Kirk wore green on one.
One of the exceptions was Uhura.
Yes, who wore red.
Who wore red.
Scotty.
And Scotty,
who wore
in
red.
engineering, who wore red.
Correct.
But the big difference is they were invited onto the bridge frequently.
Yes. The security forces.
But if you weren't those, if you weren't those two people,
and you wore red, and you were part of a landing party, you were going to die.
Red means you're dead.
So the joke is, it's a Star Trek. I think that is great. I think that is an absolutely fantastic shirt.
It is a great shirt.
Now that we just described it in detail.
Yes.
In detail. I might add.
Did you have a favorite Star Trek character?
I did.
Who was it?
Now, are we talking a regular, or are we talking...
Okay, all right, good point.
Or are we talking
point.
like of all of the episodes of all time?
Good point. Let's start TOS, the original series. First, let's start there.
So a full-time member from the original series, or any character?
You can go part-time if you want.
Travane. Travane. I liked the character.
I can't think of that actor's name, but he had the dark hair, right?
He was the one who was a child.
Right.
And he was playing with them. He was playing with the Enterprise and their crew with, remember, swords, and he was like a fencer, and he was playing out with like the crew like they were toys, and he got in trouble from his
the big god,
the parents or whatever. That was one of my
Travane.
That was one of my favorite episodes. But I think overall my favorite character, I really liked. So I liked Kirk.
Okay,
I liked Kirk, but I really liked Scotty. Just because he was a cantankerous.
Yes. He was
crusty.
When I knew more about him, I ended up liking Scotty the best, because if you took his philosophy, you would succeed in life and business.
Yep.
And what was Scotty's philosophy? Under promise and over
deliver every time. I'm giving her all she's got.
I got, Captain, and I can't give her anything more. And then Scotty pulls your ass through
every time.
And I took that to heart in my former business. I would, because if you ever do that, by the way, if you make kind of a habit of doing that in your business or at work or something
or in your
like
relationships.
Or in your relationships. Let's be honest. Because you'll find out that you can manipulate people so easily. There was one particular dude that hated me, and I thought, and it was a lieutenant that I had at the time. I was a sergeant at the time, and I thought, I got to get this fucker off my back.
Was this towards the end of your career?
No, this was kind of the early portion of my career. And he was on me. I was in a really political job at the time. I was range master of the department, and you may or may not think so, but at that time, that position was massively political because of all the crap that was going on with all sorts of people, other agencies, internally, externally, etc. And I started thinking, I wonder if I can manipulate this guy by being Scotty. And he'll ask me to do something, and immediately I'll flow up deflection screens and start hedging my bets. And, and then I plan in my head, okay, let's see. He's tentatively given me this timeline. What if I don't talk to him at all about any of this stuff, and then I get it to him like a day before he wants it, and it's done perfectly?
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And then from then on, for whatever reason, I don't know why he didn't see through that, but then from that point on, I had the dude. And he went from hating my ass to grudgingly supporting me, especially in the budget area when I really needed it, because I would deliver. I'd bitch about it, but then I'd deliver. And I don't know if he got the connection. I don't know if he ever watched Star Trek. But for me, at that time, at that point in my career, in my life, it worked.
He probably didn't care.
That was probably
He probably reverse manipulated you and was like, if I'm on his ass, I'll let him think that he's manipulating me.
That absolutely could be correct. That absolutely could
he
be
kirked
correct.
you.
That could be it. That could be it. But for whatever confluence of events were occurring at the time, and maybe we were both our own set of manipulators, even so, the stuff we needed to get done and then push up to executive staff at the time, it all worked. and we got it done. And we got our mudgy. we got our mudgy first. Then we got our money. We met our budget. We were under budget on a lot of the new stuff that we wanted. It just worked out real well. But you're right. He could have kirked me. That's absolutely correct. Hey, welcome to everybody in chat. Welcome to Mike in chat, Whiskey Dale in chat, Wendy in chat, Alaskan in chat. Clint is not here in chat, and one viewer who will not be unmasked because, as opposed to the U.S. government, that's not what we do here. We don't unmask people. If you're listening or if you're watching specifically on YouTube, the SHR Media Network YouTube channel, or if you're watching on the SHR Media Facebook page, we urge you to go to the official Real Honest to Goodness chat room at shrmedia.com, because that's where everybody is right now. Whiskey Dale, the actor's name for Trevane Whiskey Dale, says William Campbell.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alaska flips open wallet.
Yeah, beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life.
Oh, the
there.
Alaskan. He must have done that when he went into. Did you visit Congress when you did that?
Okay. Well, we spoke before the show.
We did,
and
it was fantastic. I got to say, it was absolutely
it was good
fantastic.
Convo. It was really good.
It was
convo.
Great convo.
So I showed Clint that I have a new hat.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell him the other thing you showed me, but that's probably not going to.
That's just between you.
I didn't know if you were going to show the camera.
No.
Okay, I just checked it.
I know.
It's cold in here.
I know. Listen, yeah, sure, thick shirt. Okay. I'm wearing a beautiful SR-71 hat, and then I asked Clint if he'd heard this story by Brian Shull, and Brian Shull is a former SR-71 pilot. He's a motivational speaker. He lives in Chico. He's a professional photographer. He flew the SR-71 for years. He got into an accident in another aircraft, and in that accident, he was broke. He was burned. He broke numerous bones. He burned probably, I guess, 40 to 50% of his body. And when you see him, either you watch his video or you see him live, his face is fairly disfigured from the burns. But yet, despite that, he went into the SR-71 program, was selected as an SR-71 pilot, not an RSO, not a backseater. And so he spent a number of years in the SR-71. And I asked Clint tonight, say, do you see the hat? And we used to see, here in Sacramento, west of Sacramento, I should say, we have Beale Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. And Beale Air Force Base is close to like Vallejo or Fairfield. One of the two, I don't remember where.
Beale?
Yeah,
Beale's north.
Well, it's...
Vallejo, that's
it's
Travis.
West.
Travis is west.
Okay, well...
Beale's north of us off of 99.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay, that's right. It's that way. Yes.
Yeah,
Travis
is west.
And that's where they have the TR-1s right now, is Beale. And they also, when they were still flying up until the point then they were deactivated in, I don't know, 93, 94, 95, right around in there, the SR-71s would fly out of Beale, England, and Kadena in Japan, probably a couple of other places. But we had SR-71s at Beale Air Force Base all the time. Every once in a while, you might see an SR-71 fly over Sacramento, not with any regularity. These days, the TR-1s and the TR-1 pilots will come and fly maybe around Mather and then go back to Beale. Occasionally you'll see a TR-1. TR-1 basically is the updated version of the U-2. It's longer, it's wider, it's thinner, it's faster, etc. So I asked Clint, I said, oh, by the way, Clint.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for my poison tonight. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
So I asked Clint, I said, hey, have you ever heard of this guy, Brian Shull? He's an SR-71 pilot, and have you ever heard LA Speed Check? And Clint said no. So I played a little bit of it, and then I said, wait, I'm Bigfooting the old damn show. I'm Bigfooting the show tonight. That's not right. And so Clint said, no, play the rest of it. And I said, wait, no. You're going to have to hear the rest of it. So if you've never heard this before, this is a lot of fun. This is Brian Shull, a motivational speaker, and this is what everybody has come to know as the LA Speed Check.
I'm the guy. No, you didn't hear, do you? Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story, because you'll see this on the internet. People ask, was it ever fun to fly the jet? And I told this story one time in Seattle 25 years ago, and it became, this urban legend or something. And it's all true. One day, Walter and I are doing a little training mission around the United States, where you take off out of Sacramento, hit a tanker in Idaho, rip on up to Montana, zip across Denver, hang a right turn in Albuquerque, rip out over LA, up to Seattle, back into Sacramento, 2 hours, 21 minutes.
No problem.
Then you do it backwards. You're just gaining time and experience with your backseater. You're just learning how to work together. Building hours. Well, we're on our last training mission. We've made the turn at Albuquerque. We're over Tucson. I can see downtown LA from Tucson. I can see the whole western United States bathed in a warm glow of a fall afternoon. 6 in the evening, radios are silent, the air is smooth, not a gauge moving in my cockpit. It is perfect. I can see the whole chain of the Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico, and I'm seeing all this scene, and it's all perfect. And I'm thinking, we bad. And I feel sorry for Walter because he has to monitor 5 radios in the back seat. So I flipped the switch up, and those of you that fly know that what I'm about to say is true, that centers that control all the traffic, when you fly on United or Delta, and all the centers are controlling you. Albuquerque Center, LA Center, Seattle Center, Cleveland Center, Jacksonville Center. It all sounds like the same guy because they all talk really cool and they want to make you feel cool as a pilot. So they don't just talk normal. And I swear it's the same guy, but we kind of like it. So whenever you ask them a question, you're going to get talked to like you're somebody important. Those of you that fly Cessnas all know that, hey, that sounds cool. Well, we flip up the switch, and sure enough, this is in the pre-GPS days. People always want to know their ground speed because they get lost, and they got to get their position. Well, who knows? There's always some Cessna guy. He's got to know his ground speed. LA Center, or Cessna November Alpha Tango, have you got a ground speed readout for us? Now, Center would like to say, hey, pal, who cares? Get our frequency. We got other things. But no, he's going to talk to him like he's Air Force One. Cessna November Alpha, we show you 90 knots, 90 knots on the ground. That's how they talk. I'm not making this up. Right after that, a twin Bonanza popped up to pimp the guy, I guess. Twin Beach, whatever, you got a ground speed readout for us, Center? Senator's probably thinking, God, it's Friday afternoon, why me, God, please go away. But no, he's going to talk to him like he's, a shuttle astronaut. Twin Beach, we show you 120, 120 knots on the ground. And right after that, a Navy F-18 out of Lemoore popped up on frequency. And you knew it was a Navy guy because he talked very cool on the radio. Center, Dusty 5-2 speed check. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Dusty 5-2 has a ground speed indicator and a $1 million F-18 cockpit. It's got it right there in the heads-up display. Got it right there. Why are we calling Center to broadcast our speed? Oh, I get it. We're just the meanest, baddest, fastest military jet in the valley today. We're taking our little Hornet jet over Mount Whitney and ripping across Death Valley, and we want everyone from Fresno to the coast to know what real speed is. And you can almost hear a little glee in the controller's voice, like just touch, like we've put an end to this. Dusty 5-2, we show you 620, 620 knots across the ground. And it was that across the ground, see, that was that little, we've had enough of this, I don't want to hear anybody else now. And there was silence on the radio. There wasn't an airliner from Seattle to San Diego that wanted to be next on frequency. Just an etiquette thing. And a 12-year-old was reaching for the mic button. And I thought, oh no, Walter's in charge of the radios. No, it's the Navy, they must die now. I thought, no, but if I do that, I'll destroy all the training, and I want us to be a good crew. And at that moment, I heard a click of the mic button in the back seat. Ladies and gentlemen, Walter and I became a crew at that moment. In his very best innocent Cessna voice, Walter, LA Center, Aspen 30, have you got a ground speed readout for us? You could almost hear a collective gasp on freak from everyone, like, oh, the poor fools, they didn't hear the previous transmissions. And center had to give you that same voice. Aspen 30, we show you 1,942 knots across the ground. It was like a little glee in his voice. And I knew I was going to like Walter for the next 4 years is when he came back and said, Senator, we're showing a little closer to 2,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know we never heard another transmission all the way to the coast. So for just a moment, it indeed was fun flying the jet. Most of the missions were highly serious, fatiguing, dangerous, scary, and very rewarding for what we were able to do. Berlin Wall came down on our watch. Gaddafi was silenced on our watch. And we saw the Soviets flail. Reagan knew how to use this airplane and used it well. We were proud to do it. So
That was Brian Shull, LA Speed Check. There's another cut in here in YouTube. This is where I got this, where the LA Speed Check version is longer. It's about 15 minutes, and it's better recorded. There aren't kids screaming in the background, and I should have gone for that. Damn it, Jim. But this is okay. This was 5 minutes. So welcome to everybody. Barfly, you are brand new in the chat room. So welcome to you. It's great to see you here.
With a name like Barfly, I hope
thanks
you have
for appearing.
I hope you have a nice Elmer T. Lee, neat. Just a nice bourbon and maybe a cigar. And with a name like Barfly, right? It's either that or you're drinking like box wine. But we already have one of those.
Yeah,
we already have a box wine, so
true.
we can't have another one. So now we have a box wine and we have a Barfly.
Actually, that's almost as good, if not better. Not better. It's almost as good as Run Rocks at Hookers.
It's not.
Almost.
It's not as good as Throne.
Not as good?
Not as good.
Do you have any Clint stories?
Not as good at all. No, nothing funny. I don't have anything funny or cheeky this week. I did have a serious conversation today.
Do you have anything
about
insightful, maybe?
I guess. But I think the context is off. I had a very interesting leadership discussion today.
Okay.
With somebody. And the crux of it was, and it's a very good life lesson, but the crux of it was, lead the team that you have, not the team that you want, right? That's kind of the crux. So be a leader and use the pieces with the personnel that you have, not necessarily what you wish you had or where what you think you should have. But understanding the capabilities of each individual person. And not everybody is going to do X or Y or Z like you do. That's what makes a good team, is obviously everybody with individual strengths and talents and so forth. How do you use them to accomplish X objective or X mission? So how do you use them, and then how do you push them to their limits a little bit outside of their comfort zone and continue to grow and all that other stuff? So it was a pretty interesting discussion, and I guess that's kind of my I prefer my funny stories, but I think it's good, pretty insightful, good leadership lessons. I should write a book.
You should, except maybe Donald Rumsfeld beat you to it. Do you remember when he said you got to go to war with the army you have?
No.
You just basically...
No.
Oh, you don't remember when he said that?
I don't, but
But what you just said is what he said probably 15, 20 years earlier, but you're both incongruency in terms of you can't create something out of thin air. You have to work with whatever series of variables you have with you as a leader, that range from the folks that you have that are really good to the folks that you have that aren't maybe not so good. But those are the people that's the team you got to work with.
Yeah, and how do you push them to better themselves and to better complement the team, especially when shit hits the fan? So yeah, it was good. I really kind of summed everything up, and really it was about a 2.5 hour conversation. But that's kind of in a nutshell. It's one of the things we discussed.
I have had the opportunity to work in specifically law enforcement with a couple of really unique elite groups And when you're talking about people, groups of 10 persons or less that have been given a very specific task, and the task is such that your chief is watching you, your undersheriff is watching you, your sheriff is watching you, and your task is very important. It has to do with safety, etc. I can tell you some stories, but I have found that there always has been, and then you need to deal with the individual that I call the corrupter or the underminer in a small unit. And you can get away with an underminer or a corrupter in a larger setting, somebody who's not with you, someone who's not in step with the rest of the people that are involved. And I've discovered that there almost always will be someone who is a corrupter or an underminer, and you have to deal with them. And my guess would be that you've been, if you're in management in any form, that, and the people that are listening and watching right now, if you're like a supervisor or a manager or you own your own business, my guess would be you too have had to deal with a corrupter or an underminer. And the biggest question, because one of those people can have the biggest negative effect on your goals. So what do you do with you? And they can range from they're sort of selective and they're kind of covert, or to the incredible overt who just won't shut up and they're always negative. So how do you deal with something like that?
It depends. So are they lazy, or are they?
Or they could be a combination.
So well, that requires different skill sets,
Well,
right? And how you deal
does.
with those
That's
people.
true.
Because do you have somebody who's literally just lazy and apathetic and doesn't want to be there and doesn't give a shit, or do you have somebody who is
performing
below because they are underappreciated, or they are just in a bad place personally, or whatever it is? So those take different things. I say overall, generally, depending if it's somebody who's just lazy, a piece of just not really doesn't care, doesn't give a shit. If you're on a small, tight-knit group, or you're on a team, well, first of all, if you're on a high-speed team, you shouldn't have anybody like that, right? And if you do, probably time for them to do a little self-reflection and be on their way. And that's something that I've told my people before. Hey, listen, if they're, how hard you worked to get this position that you're in right now,
or they might be people that you
if it ever gets to a point where I don't really have that anymore, because I've been doing what I've been doing for a while.
Well, yes, you've had the ability.
So
got it.
If it ever gets to the point where you don't want to be here and you can't remember everything that you just put into this, literally blood, sweat, and tears, then it's probably time for you to be on your way. But in terms of that, if I've found if you give them a job, if they're empowered to do X, Y, or Z, they get tasked with something that has worked for me, at least in some of the units that I've been involved with. Somebody who was starting to be a naysayer, go down that road, starting to be maybe not necessarily an underminer, but one of those people who's just constantly complaining, constantly bitching, nothing's good, and
why do I have to do this?
That's slowly starting to infect. Hey, you know what? I have a very important task. I need you to please do X, Y, and Z. This is super important because of these things, and you're my guy. You think you can handle that? 100% of the time I've had, yes, sir, I can handle that.
Cool. That's a great response.
And then we get it done. Now, that's different than somebody who just doesn't give a shit, right? And there's those too.
Yeah, and you can have any number of combinations of the folks as well.
Yeah, because what's the reason that they're having that? Are they having personal issues at home?
That's
Are they
true.
having?
Well, especially if you've got somebody that's been performing to a minimum, to a norm, and then all of a sudden their performance plummets.
Absolutely,
that's a horse of a different color.
Yeah, and then
what color? I think maybe purple.
I think purple or pinkle, right?
Pinkle,
purple and pink together.
Spotted, dappled. We could call them dappled.
Dappled, yes. And if there's a bunch of them, they'd be a dappled ganger.
Ooh,
You're welcome.
Very nice.
Yeah, you're
Very
welcome.
nice. I see what you did there.
We're up against a break.
I think we are. Let's take a break. Folks, you want to take your break? You want to do it now? Okay,
Let's
everybody, raise your hands. People.
We're up against a break.
Yeah, I know. Raise your hands. Okay,
1,
everybody
2,
votes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. If you want to keep going, raise your hand. 2, 3. I think we got to
take a
break.
break.
The breaks have it.
You guys won. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
We are bad. We are back. First half hour, boom, gone, quick like a bunny. And we have returned. You are listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's a real chat show. I am Sackheads Clint.
And I am Sackheads BZ.
And there is Sackheads BZ. And we are the Sackheads.
I'm busy.
Busy. We are busy. And we are the Sackheads Against Tyranny. If you missed LA Speed Check from Brian Shull, you got to go back and listen to it in podcast because it is like super cool. What I'd like to do tonight is go to some kind of strange but interesting stories that are kind of generic before we get into politics specifically.
This is a political show. How do we do that?
I know. But, well, okay, this is political too. So I like your thoughts about this.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, I know it is. We could just start at that level. Hey, why not start out of 1 to 10? Let's start at 8, okay?
Okay. Wait, 8 is in it's good or 8 is in it's fucked up? Where's the scale?
It's kind of in the fucked up, but...
So is 0 fucked up or is 10 fucked up?
No, 10 is like...
10 is fucked up.
Right.
Okay, so on the 0
it's
everything's fine.
Right. It's like you've got an amp.
Okay.
And you're in a heavy metal concert and you turn it up to 10.
To 11.
Yeah, to 11. More cowbell. That's what I always say, more cowbell. Here's a story from Fox News. Said Super Bowl champion blasts Youth Football League after coach faces a $500 fine and a suspension over a big victory. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's more to this story. And at the end, you're going to go, what the... Two-time Super Bowl winning wide receiver Torrey Smith tweeted his frustration Saturday with a Pennsylvania Youth Football League that allegedly fined and suspended a coach over a team's big victory. Now, initially, you're probably thinking, Clint, contrarian Clint, okay, where's the story in that? That doesn't seem like a big story. Okay, how come this guy got suspended? What's the deal?
Yeah, what was he like? Was he
yelling at his kids? Was he beating his kids?
When I saw the headline, I thought originally he went up to the other, like he was rubbing it in the other kids' faces, like he was being a poor winner and promoting.
But you guys are nothing.
Yes, that's what I thought. I thought it was a poor sportsmanship story.
And then
I was wrong.
It turned out to be something different. So this guy, Torrey Smith, who retired from the NFL actually this season, tweeted that the Keystone State Youth Football League based in Philadelphia, they were going to suspend this guy, this coach, for 2 games and fine him $500. Okay, a $500 fine to a coach
youth
like that, a
coach?
youth coach, is like $100,000 to a professional athlete. $500. You know, this guy might not even, this guy might be a volunteer. He might not even be paid. He might not even get a stipend for something like this.
Yeah.
Why did he get suspended? Why did he get a fine of $500? Because, you know, if you don't have an assload of money to rub together, $500 is big buckage.
Yeah, $500 is nothing to sneeze at.
It's nothing to sneeze at. Yeah,
no.
I mean, some people would have to go out and take a loan for $500 if it's not in their standard budget. And out of nowhere, this guy gets suspended, and boom, a $500 fine because his team won a game 36-0. Smith said the league disciplines the coach if their team wins by more than 30 points. Are you kidding me? That's where we are today.
Yeah. So this kid, he pulled his first string out, and he put the kids in who like never played. And so I guess this one kid who never gets a chance to play, he gets the ball and he's running and he's going to score a touchdown. This kid who never gets to play is going to score a touchdown. Probably the only touchdown he's ever going to score. Probably the only touchdown he's going to score this season. I'm guessing he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. That's a big deal.
Sure,
to a
that
kid.
could be massive.
I get to score a touchdown. That's a big deal, right? Well, the coach, a parent reportedly, was running down the sidelines trying to get the kid to fall down. This kid's not going to fall down. He never gets a chance to. Wait a second. You teach him to run, be your best, score. That's your job. Well, this kid scores. This coach was trying to get the kid not to score. Basically, was trying to get the kid not to do what it is he's actually supposed to do.
That reminds me of the other video I saw.
What kind of lesson does that give to the kids? Right? Be your best. But don't be really your best, right? Don't try as hard as you can. And not only that, but how is the other team supposed to learn how to lose gracefully, or to handle adversity, or to be pressed to step up their game?
You just nailed it right there. So Torrey Smith, he sent out a tweet. He said, "Today's story of We Are Building Weak Children. The youth football team in my wife's hometown had a game today. They won 36-0. They don't allow you to win by 31 without some type of punishment. The head coach is now suspended for 2 games and fined $500. Are you kidding me?" And then he wrote this, which was perfect, this is a life lesson. Number 1, kids need to learn how to deal with failure. Don't want to get smashed? Play better.
Yep.
Number 2, kids need to learn how to deal with failure. Life doesn't let up. When it rains, it pours. Oh, hell yeah. You and I have been through so many examples of that, It's not even remotely funny. Number 3, the other kids can't give their all because there's a rule. Work hard, but not too hard. And he says, that's stupid. Number 4, it's hard to find youth coaches as it is, but you consider fining a coach $500 an appropriate punishment? And number 5, if you truly want to have a slaughter rule, simply stop the game. How do you coach or play knowing that you can't score? That's just stupid too.
Yep.
So you just as you said, you nailed it. What lessons are we teaching our kids?
Those
sports used to be about having the ability to teach lessons about life.
Yeah. It's just fun to go play the game.
But they can't be anymore.
Well, yes, it's fun to play the game, but you're learning camaraderie, sportsmanship, team building, right? How to be part of a team, how to give it your all, how to win together, how to lose together, how to handle challenges. There's so much that goes into youth sports that I believe goes into being a good adult, a responsible citizen, a responsible member of society. Our kids aren't getting these life lessons anymore. I mean, really think about it. Where do they get these lessons? And where do kids get that adversity from?
You can learn just as much from failure as you can from success.
I think you can learn more.
You can't have success without certain bucket loads of failure.
Yeah.
There was I can't think of the author's name. Oh, Kevin Anderson. I tried to get him on the show. He's an author. He has like 149 books, mostly in science fiction. But at one time, he used to have the world record for rejection slips from novels and stories. He has over 500 rejection slips. And he's one of the most prolific authors on the planet. And he's writing today. And his wife, who runs his stuff, sent me an email and said he's so busy, he writes all the time, he'd like to be on the show, but he just can't. And I think if you know KJA, then you know this is why. He writes so many books, he walks and dictates at the same time. Most of his books are off of a recorder that it comes out of his head. And he talks into a recorder, and then somebody transcribes. But you're not going to have success without failure. And if you take away the possibility and you cocoon kids in a false narrative of always there will be some measure of success in your life, then when they truly finally meet a great failure or a personal failure or somehow some kind of a loss that they've never encountered before, then they truly are at a loss. They won't know what to do.
I'm going to jump this to the next thing. You and I were talking at the break, and one of the things that we talked about, and that this is one of the things you said. You know what? I have a theory of why we're seeing some of these stupid police shootings that we're seeing today.
Oh, we could listen.
Hey, look, I think
go off on this.
Let's cap it at 5 minutes.
All right.
But I think that this story absolutely plays into that, because we were talking at break.
You and I are,
and we were 100% on the same page for this.
We are incongruent thinking about this.
Yes, we are. And it goes back to these kids have the problem solved for them. They're not allowed to fail. They're not allowed to fight or defend themselves in school. I'm not talking about bullying. Nobody is advocating bullying. But if a kid is bullied, they get in trouble if they fight back also, at least in California.
Oh, God, yes.
I don't know about the other states, but fighting is not allowed for any reason whatsoever, period. Everybody gets in trouble. So we get up, and you get these kids that grow up, and they're starting to do that. Now they're entering the workforce. They're going into the United States military. They're becoming firefighters. They're becoming police officers. And they have never been in a confrontation or a fight or been yelled at or had a voice raised at them.
More importantly, they've never been struck in anger, and they don't know what that is.
Yes. So they get called to these things like somebody who's in their house, and there's an open door, and in my opinion, what's happening is it's fear. It's fear. It's not being in that situation before. It's not having really any real world experience to fall back on.
Yes, they've been cushioned from life's rough experiences.
Yes, and what is the go-to response based on that fear? In my opinion. In this, my Sackhead Clint, this is my opinion only,
and
this is
mine as well.
This is not. I don't have any set of facts. I am not privy to the investigation. This is just Clint's opinion, my thoughts on the issue, and I truly believe it's because we are raising kids that service is not important. That you don't have to solve your own problems.
Discipline is not important.
Discipline is not important. Somebody will solve your problems for you.
Yes.
Everybody gets a trophy, and everybody is really good at everything.
And people have moved. They've removed a measure of responsibility and accountability from these kids,
and the ability for these kids to deal with stress and extreme stress, and some of these situations that I think these young police officers and so forth are seeing today.
You're no better. I've said this for years. I worked for 41 years in law enforcement. You're no better than your surrounding gene pool. LAPD is no better than its surrounding gene pool. Sacramento is no better than its surrounding gene pool. Et al., all across the nation. If you're in a training venue in law enforcement these days, you can't be remotely harsh, and you're given anywhere in an academy from 2 to 3 to 4 months, let's say maybe 6 months, at the very longest in an academy, to attempt to take someone who literally has never been struck in anger, and you have 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, to attempt to train 18 years of their experience out, and you have 2 or 3 months to attempt to overcome what kind of patting and
soft programming
and treating them softly and folks expecting there to be some kind of a safe space into which they can withdraw. There is no such thing in law enforcement. You're going to get your ass in a sling, and it's probably going to be on the first day. It may be on the first call. You and I know any number of stories where first day, first call, you're killed. Hell, that happened to Davis. One of the first 2 or 3 days, what's her name? Corona from Davis PD.
Natalie Corona.
Was shot and killed on like the first, second, or third or one of the very few days after she'd been finalized, and now she's a full-time peace officer and she gets killed. Now, I have no idea what happened to her, and I'm not trying to include her into that narrative per se. All I'm attempting to say is that adults and parents are not doing their children any favors by refusing to expose them to failure and life as it exists today. There has to be a consequence for what it is that you do or don't do. And in the process of removing consequence, then we get kids. Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to have to, this is me having to rein it back. Okay. Let me take a breath just for a second. This is kind of how you get Parkland. This is how you get that shooter. And I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't deserve his name being said. But the Broward County Sheriff's Department and the school resource officers knew about the nature of this kid, and they purposely coddled him and kept him out of the criminal justice system because they didn't want him hurt or harmed. And it's the removal of consequences similar to that. I'm having Andrew Pollack on next month. His daughter Meadow was killed at Parkland. I just bought his book. So I have from now until next month, I think November 7th or 8th or something like that, before I speak to him on my show. But one of the things and one of the reasons he agreed to be on the show is that I said Gavin Newsom has created a situation where we can no longer remove kids from school. And that situation is similar to that which enabled the shooter in Parkland. They all knew what kind of a kid he was, and he was purposely kept out of basically the consequence loop. And when it turned out that he was responsible for doing X, Y, and Z, a lot of people said something similar to, well, we kind of knew. Well, if you kind of knew, why did you purposely keep him out of that consequence loop? He could have been subject to detention, even up to arrest, for any number of the things that he did, and he was not.
And you know what kills me is with this, with this, the conversation is not about what we're talking about right now. It's not how do we prevent individuals from going down that path, the path of intended violence, and going down the path to where they're committing X event, right? What we're focusing on now is we got to take the guns away. Okay, what is leading the person to go down this path to use this tool, gun, knife, car, whatever it is, in order to commit these heinous acts? Thank you. These heinous acts. Because you can take a gun away, but as we're already seeing, they are using additional tools. They're using edged weapons. They're using vehicles.
It doesn't
they're
stop
using explosive
at the
devices.
firearm. Yes, exactly.
Right? They're using chemical agents. You name it, and they're using it. So the issue is not the tool that is being used. The issue is what is leading the individual to make the decision to engage in this violence to begin with. This violence is not new. This type of violence is not new. Do you know what the first rapid mass murder event was that I've been able to find at least?
You told me one time.
It was the Enoch Brown schoolhouse killing, ENOCH, Enoch Brown, and it took place in what was the colony of Pennsylvania. We weren't even a nation yet, and it was nine school children and a schoolmaster were killed, edged weapon attack, and it was, I believe it was during Pontiac's Rebellion, and it was 2 Indian braves. That's who committed it. Random meets our definition today for what is an active threat. What is an active killer?
And a mass, not a mass shooting, but a mass killing.
Yeah, right. Not just a mass killing, but an active killing. While that was going, it was absolutely an active threat. You read the definition of what an active shooter is or what an active threat is. That met the definition. Now, when they came back to the tribe, there were consequences for those braves. But this type of violence is not new. Are we seeing it more? Are we hearing about it more? Yes. But did all of a sudden human beings become depraved and engage in this behavior because now we have quote-unquote assault weapons? No, it's not. So let's focus on what is causing these choices to be made.
But first, I said a long time ago that you have to make a fundamental assumption and acknowledgement. And the reason you got the bell was you said the firearm. I had the luck of teaching in the 2 most deadly venues in all of Copton, guns and cars, cars and guns. Guns and cars, cars and guns are going to kill cops. And by extension, they're going to end up killing citizens as well. So those are two absolutely critical training venues. But you have to understand that just as the car is a tool that you have to use properly and appropriately within guidelines and lawfully, the firearm is a tool as well. We've had the firearm for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And we weren't seeing these types of shootings in the 60s and the 50s. So
Texas Tower, 1969.
Yeah, but
bad example, BZ.
No, but that wasn't a continuing. That's Walt Whitman, by the way.
Walt Whitman. 90 minutes.
The Whitman Tower in Texas. But you have to acknowledge that the firearm is a tool, and we haven't seen a lot of these things occur with as much. I can't say that they've grown exponentially, but they have grown.
Mm-hmm.
But a certain segment has grown. We've always had violence. The highest amount of violence occurred when I was a detective in the 90s. The highest amount of gun violence was when I was a detective in the 90s. That's how I got into homicide. All of my robbery suspects were all the homicide suspects in the 90s. Gun violence has actually gone down since the 90s, with some select exceptions. My biggest proposition is, okay, if the firearm is a tool and you don't like how the tool is being utilized today, you cannot blame the tool because what has happened in the intervening years. The gun is a tool, so what changed? You have to ask yourself
Society
the logical
changed.
question. Did the tool change or... Oh, dang it, you get another one. So the fundamental question that must be asked is, the firearm didn't change, society changed.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's where you need to focus.
You know, I heard Beto O'Rourke. So cool. I heard Beto O'Rourke
Keanu Reeves,
talk about how, you know, well people I think people understand that they don't need an AK-47 or an AR-15 for self-defense or to hunt. That just shows how fundamentally stupid that man is.
It's fundamentally flawed thinking.
But you know what? But we have allowed, meaning Americans, we have allowed the left to frame the argument about the gun control, to frame the argument in terms. They've framed the argument. They set the playing field, and we play within that parameters.
Exactly.
They say hunting and self-defense. And so when they say, what do you need that gun for? You don't need that gun for hunting or self-defense. We, meaning those on the right, we say, yes, we do.
I know.
We can hunt with that. Yes, we do. We need that for self-defense.
And that's
rather than saying
it's not a matter of
it's
need.
It's not a matter of self-defense, and it's not a matter of hunting. We don't have these weapons for self-defense for our homes. We don't have these weapons to hunt. We have these weapons, military-style weapons. Fuck yes, we do. Why do we have them? To keep you, the government, from becoming too tyrannical.
Yes.
That's why we have the Second Amendment.
Oh, but those things, look, Clint, you are so flawed. None of that crap is happening today, Venezuela.
But but we allow them to frame the argument. Nobody ever stops up. The moderator at the debate, nobody else on the debate stage. I doubt the next presidential debate between Donald Trump and whoever the nominee is, I doubt Donald Trump will get up and say, whoa. The whole premise of your question is flawed. The Second Amendment does not exist for self-defense and hunting. The Second Amendment exists so that the citizens can feel secure against us, the government. Us, the government, we have the military. Those weapons are supposed to be military-style weapons. As a matter of fact, during the American Revolution, the private citizen was better armed because the standard military-issue weapon at the time was the smoothbore musket. And private citizens, many owned rifles, which were a superior weapon.
Nothing like trying to load a flintlock.
But nobody fucking has the balls to frame the argument appropriately.
It's not a need. You don't need the Second Amendment. It's just a right. It's not a matter of need.
Well, and then we get into what Gavin Newsom signed this week.
Oh, we will get into that.
No, we got 2 minutes. Let's get into it.
I think it's going to carry over.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's too long to try to hit here.
All right.
And I'm glad you did that because oddly enough, no, not oddly enough for you, you knew that I was going to do this anyway. I've got all that stuff all queued up and ready to go.
Well, we talk
on top of that, I've got a great little audio cut from Beto.
For Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah. That wasn't bad.
Hello. I sound like a Beto O'Rourke.
That's pretty good.
And we're gonna send the cops after you guys. You don't need those guns to hunt or for self-defense. Nobody wants to take your handguns because handguns are clearly for self-defense.
Just because.
But it's,
that's not
you can hunt with a handgun. I think. I don't know.
Beto, can I ask you a favor?
Yeah, please ask
Can
me a
you
favor.
take us out into the break?
Yeah, so this Beto O'Rourke, maybe it's when we come back, we're going to be talking about what my good friend Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law. It's great law. It's California making strides here against gun violence. It's so tragic, and we're going to be doing these things. People don't need this, so we're going to be discussing that after the break.
All right.
BC, thank you. Beto O'Rourke, we love sackheads against tyranny. I don't know why, because it's really against me, but you know what I mean. It's just the guys are so chill, just super chill. Thank you, BZ. Yeah, go ahead. Vote for me. Not really. Donald Trump's way better than me.
Okay, do you know why I'm pausing?
No.
Because you just made the next Sackheads commercial. I am going to use all that to make the new Sackheads commercial. Don't think that I won't. Guaranteed. That shit is going to happen.
Conservative
Guaranteed.
media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
No surrender, ever.
because truth is not always pleasant.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's the Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real Shad show. I'm Sackheads BZ. Across from me is Sackheads, Contrary Clint. He's still a Sackheads. He's one of the original Sackheads. I am not one of the original 2 Sackheads. However, I am now part of the triumvirate, which has been reduced to a bivirate because now Sackhead Sean is otherwise occupied. He has a real job to do. So we're talking about Gavin Newsom, and we're talking about firearms.
My good friend Gavin Newsom is just ahead of his time. I'm sorry, BZ. Go ahead.
No, what were you saying about Gavin?
Gavin Newsom is just a good friend of mine. Is really ahead of his time, light years ahead of his time. Really, I just want to use what he's doing out there in California. It's kind of the staple for nationally what we should be doing. I think it's great that you're making your viewers aware of everything that's going on in that great state of yours.
Do you want me to tell folks about what Gavin Newsom has done?
Yeah. No, please do. That'd be outstanding. BC. I think it's really important. Matter of fact, I talk about that in the campaign trail. It's one of the cornerstones I have for my thing. My name is Beto, by the Baytoe. That's my name, Beto O'Rourke, and it's Gavin Newsom's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Okay. So here's the story, Beto.
Yeah, please go ahead.
California Governor Gavin Newsom,
great man,
Friday,
great patriot,
guy,
great patriot.
He signed a law that's going to make the state the very first to allow a new group of people participate in red flag laws. In other words, it used to be law enforcement who had the ability to do that, or people that were in a mental health venue that had the ability to make notifications in terms of red flag laws. Now, Gavin Newsom has decided that in his inestimable brilliance.
That and the legislature is fantastic. Beto, what are you doing? Get up. Hey, Sackhead Clint, what are you doing? Get out of my chair. What are you doing? Is this your seat? I'm sorry. I thought BZ invited me to sit down and be great. Get. No, you're not allowed to talk here on the show. Get out.
He needs
get
to
out.
Done, yeah.
I'm sorry. Just vote for Baytoe.
Beto.
Sorry, BZ. I had to.
That's okay.
I had to come back.
Well, you were just being gentlemanly.
I was being very gentlemanly
by letting him sit.
I was.
And speak for a bit, because we let everybody speak here, and we in sort of one form or another here in the Sackhead Show.
Actually, to be fair, we do encourage, and we have encouraged, and we continue to encourage all points of view to come on the show and give us a call.
Sure, and
because we may disagree with you.
Mention that
because we may disagree with you. But we will disagree with you respectfully, and it doesn't mean that we can't go have a beer afterwards.
No. Or we may not do it respectfully, and we may demand that you hang up on yourself. But that's okay. That's a story for another day. Folks, if you want to call, 209-284-3210. 209-284-3210. That number in Brazil is 1-209-284-3210.
And in Montenegro?
Oh, damn, that's a
You got the Montenegro number up? Yeah, it was right there.
Yeah, okay. 1-209.
Yep.
284.
Yep.
3210. So if you want to call,
Yes.
go ahead and call, folks.
So, Newsom actually signed 15 bills.
Yeah.
15 gun violence bills.
Gun control.
Violence. No, gun violence. No, nobody likes control. Gun violence bills. So you were saying that the people who can
there are new groups of people that can rat your ass out.
Pray tell, who are these people?
And that would be, let's see.
Coworkers.
Employers, co-workers, and teachers.
Educators.
Not
even just
now
teachers.
This story said
educators.
Teachers, but a leftist story, you're right, a leftist story would tend to say that they were educators. So that's
because what is an educator?
Well, it's a nicer,
broader
smoother,
term.
Calmer, more centered namaste-like description instead of just something like teacher.
I would argue that educator is a broader term.
It could be broader.
Is a more broad term. Not because women are involved, because I wouldn't say that.
No, we have
but
to have
broader term.
A larger scope.
Meaning a larger scope. Yes, thank you. I don't want to be getting in trouble when this clip comes up, 30 years later.
Here's the wacky thing, though, if you want to hear about
here's the wacky thing?
Yeah. Well, let's say here's a wacky thing. Everyone was bitching about Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown is such a leftist. Jerry Brown vetoed this bill twice.
Jerry Brown was actually pretty pro-gun. For several years, he got like a B rating, I think, from the NRA.
He wouldn't let this bill go through. Yeah. And, it's like, next. Nope, not going to have it. Not under my watch. Now it's Gavin's turn.
And so one of the other bills also increased the length of the gun violence restraining order to last from like 1 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, in some occasions, it's up to 10 years.
This is so batshit crazy that the ACLU is opposing it.
I completely forgot about
How
that.
could you forget that? That's like the greatest little nugget.
That's the crux of the biscuit
This
right
is
there.
so fucked up.
It is so batshit
even the
crazy.
ACLU is like, I don't know about this one, guys. We're usually with you guys, but
even this crap makes us cringe.
Yeah.
That's how, because
how bad is the NRA and the ACLU may actually end up filing friend of the court briefs
an
amicus,
mutual amicus briefs in California, if you can imagine that. Like the NRA reaching across the aisle to the ACLU and going, yeah, we agree with that shit. Let's move it.
And some judge is going to get this and be like,
what?
Holy shit. This law must be fucked up.
Okay, you're in California.
Yes, I am.
This shit can leak to your state. Don't think it can't.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Because if there's one thing that you guys need to realize is that California is the petri dish, the incubator of crazy-ass leftist crap that can bleed over state borders at the drop of a hat.
Well, the best part is these leftists, they infect the state of California, and then they're like, "Oh, this is fucked up. We're going to leave." And then they try the same shit in your state. And if you're laughing at us, Texas, take a look at Austin. And by the way, you gave us Beto. So
imagine that.
If you're in Texas and you think, "Oh, y'all in California,"
there was a governor that came across from Texas. He ran for president last time.
Perry?
Yeah. Perry he specifically came to California to lobby businesses
yes, he did.
To move from California to Texas, and a number of them did.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that when you migrate businesses, the people that you use to employ in those businesses, create the business, own the business, etc., don't leave their mindset at the state border.
Right.
They bring it with them.
Yes.
So if Texas is afeared that it's turning purple,
it is.
Okay, you
are turning purple.
Imported that shit.
Yeah, and you are turning purple.
And you are turning purple.
Yeah.
That's how Ted Cruz had a bit of a time.
Yes, he did.
Last time around.
Yes, he did.
And with
Beto O'Rourke.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised when you want whatever California has. California is the bubonic plague of stupidity. Don't import it.
You know what? You know what will be? I say this will be great. All these freaking leftists will leave and go to Texas and these others, and then California will flip red again, and then I won't have to leave.
Not for quite some time. That ain't happening this. I don't think that's happening in this century.
But mark my words. If Trump San Francisco and Los Angeles, and all he hammers home is homeless, 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 help, help, help. They are such single-party issues. Look, in San Francisco, the residents put boulders on the sidewalks.
Oh, God. I wanted to get that story so bad last time.
I know. To prevent the homeless from erecting tents there, the city took all the boulders away. And then what did they do?
Yeah. Tell them the best part.
The best part, the homeowner said, "Oh, really?" And they put fucking bigger boulders in. Yeah.
If
these leftist San Francisco residents are that pissed off, and President Trump comes in and says, "Listen, I'm going to solve your homeless problem, and here's what I'm going to do," they may hold their nose and they may pull the red handle, because it is such an issue. The plague came back into the city of Los Angeles.
The plague, TB, and hepatitis.
The plague.
Plus, guess what other wonderful gift came down into Los Angeles? Oh, that's right. Leprosy.
Yes. Yeah.
Folks, if you doubt that Sackheads Clint and I are lying to you about any of this stuff, go to your favorite search engine and put in leprosy, Los Angeles, and then put in
plague,
boulders, San Francisco sidewalk, and you'll discover we ain't making none of this crap up.
Oh, also look up, I think it was a Berkeley study of all places. Look up Berkeley study, San Francisco dirtier than third world country. Look that story up also. Do you remember we talked about that on the show also? I think it was a CBS story.
Berkeley study.
Yes, Barfly, leprosy.
Yeah. I see. That's why I love a good chat room, a good active chat room, because Barfly is saying leprosy.
Yes.
No, we're not kidding.
We are not making this up.
Okay, so Berkeley study.
I think it was the Berkeley environmental study about San Francisco dirtier than third world.
San Francisco
dirtier than third
world. Dirty. We'll see what I get out of that. Oh, okay.
Did you find it? I think it was like CBS or ABC.
Guess what?
Story.
Guess what? Okay, here it is. This is from SF Gate, which is
the bastion of conservatism.
This is like the Bay Area San Francisco publication.
Super conservative, right?
Okay, sfgate.com. This is the headline.
So hang on. This was a study or an investigation by NBC Bay Area. NBC, the bastion of conservatism.
Right.
Bay Area, another bastion of conservatism. You think MSNBC is batshit crazy? NBC Bay Area? There you go.
Barfly in the chat room now put from CBN News. Barfly put a link.
Yep. Thank you, Barfly.
Again, I love the people in the chat room.
Go ahead.
But this headline says parts of San Francisco dirtier than foreign slums. UC Berkeley infectious disease expert says. And the first photograph in this article is a wad of used dirty needles about a foot.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're unfamiliar with Berkeley, Berkeley is not a bastion of conservatism at all.
No,
as a matter of fact,
nothing.
They riot when somebody conservative even wants to talk at the campus.
Yeah. Like Milo, for example.
Yes.
He ain't ever coming back. As a matter of fact, Milo Papa...
come with the story. You're gonna veer. You're gonna take a right turn. Don't do it. Stick on point for right now.
All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, the bill that we were talking about...
Talk about the story. You just looked it up for him.
Which one?
You said the pile of needles, and then we went off on a tangent.
I thought you wanted to go back to the original story.
No. Right here. Go ahead.
So the Dr. Lee Riley's predictions come by way of a recent city survey by NBC Bay Area, just like you indicated, NBC. The task force surveyed 153 blocks in downtown San Francisco, and they found 100 improperly discarded needles scattered around the streets and more than 300 piles of feces littered around the streets. As many as a dozen needles were found abandoned in a city single block. And then his book, his 2016 book, this guy Riley, it's entitled Slum Health from the Cell to the Street, analyzed the range of health hazards found in areas of deep poverty around the globe. And he told NBC, and again, this is astounding, but it's true. I'm reading it. It's on the internet. You can find it yourself. The contamination recorded in parts of San Francisco rivals that of slums in Brazil, Kenya, and India. And we're talking San Francisco, which is
California,
if you've ever,
United States of America.
If you've ever been, San Francisco used to be one of the most beautiful, gorgeous, clean cities that you will ever visit. And for a long time, people didn't have fear. You could go to the various tourist areas and not have a lot of fear of being knocked off. People of middle wages could actually live in San Francisco for a while. Not everyone lives in a massive mansion like Nancy Pelosi does live in a massive mansion in San Francisco. So now, the other thing I'd like to point out between this study is this is a 2018 study. In between 2018 and 2019, both Clint and I have come across any number of stories additionally which indicate that the problem has gotten literally geometrically worse to the point where San Francisco publishes a poop guide as to where you can find heaps, piles, etc. of human excrement. And it got to the point where the city and county of San Francisco on this guide, and again, you can go to the internet to see if I'm lying or making this up. It got to the point where the locations of excrement found, human feces found in San Francisco, it turned, depending upon the size that you make the map, all of the city and county of San Francisco, all of it was brown. Not kidding. This is here. This is today. This is 2019. This is San Francisco. This is California. And Gavin Newsom wants to make it even more left than it is now, with the slight caveat that there are now, that I'm aware of, although I haven't come across any, there are 2 recalls that are going around right now. I haven't had occasion to sign one, but that's what a lot of the stories are indicating. For all I know, they may be down in Southern California mostly at this point, or they may be in San Francisco and I just haven't come across one. We're in Sacramento. There are people crapping in the streets of Sacramento. In the Sacramento County Courthouse, there are the homeless camping around the courthouse. And the courthouse people, the deputies, have to come out in the morning and hose the crap down from the homeless surrounding the courthouse, where if you have a civil case or a criminal case, etc., you have to wade through the tents and the homeless people there. And they are also in the libraries in the city and the county of Sacramento. They're all over the place. It's not exactly as bad as San Francisco. Yet, but we're about 90% there. As is any leftist area in California, all of California. Do we want to go back and talk about the Gavin thing? Because here's what I'm thinking. You and I both know what swatting is. And I've spoken about this before. So maybe you can tell folks, what is swatting?
It's creating a fake call at a particular address, knowing that a SWAT response would be initiated.
Right, because of the nature and the gravity
of the call. Correct.
Of what the people are calling into 911 saying, and they're usually of a firearm critical incident nature that
exceeds the capability of normal patrol.
That the police, in looking at the call, would say something similar to, that is above our general capability. It looks like we may need to activate SWAT. So what Gavin Newsom is essentially doing is begging for, in a way, on a slightly lesser level, the swatting of anyone that a leftist in California disagrees with. Here's my example. You're in California. Let's say you're an area of state workers in Sacramento, downtown. And you're in with a bunch of other people that are in cubicles. And the person that inhabits the cubicle right around the corner from you, you made the mistake maybe last year of saying something similar to, I went to the range last year and I took my son and we had a great time. And then the person that's around the corner in the cubicle from you also heard you tell a coworker that I went to the range and a couple of months ago I got this very interesting firearm, fill in the blank. Now that coworker who you didn't tell them directly, but now they know according to this, you're not in keeping with their plan. You're, as far as they're concerned, fodder for something like this. A danger. And let's say one day, as people, coworkers do and can do in a civilized position, you're sitting down in a conference or a table, you're having a discussion, and not only does this person perceive that they've been focused by you, you're targeting them, but they feel, air quotes, they feel that you may have raised your voice at them, and now they feel threatened. They feel triggered, knowing full well, and I can tell you this guy has guns. I've heard he has guns, and dropping a dime.
Yep.
Now, this is California. This may not happen in a place like, Idaho wouldn't be stupid enough to have a law like this. But the nature of California is it's jam-packed up the ass with leftists. And conservatives, by and large, don't say a damn thing in the office. But people have memories. And now, backed by this law, if you want any get back by leftists, because leftists are all about get back, then now you've thrown into the mix these new groups of employers, employees, co-workers, and teachers, educators, into that mix, who also, besides law enforcement and mental health professionals, can drop a red flag dime on you, and your due process doesn't mean crap to the state of California.
Yep.
Thanks, Gavin.
Well, and the legislature. They tried this shit before.
Yes. Thanks. Appreciate it. Jerry Brown wouldn't let that crap go through, but now Gavin has decided that.
Oh, yeah, it's a great idea.
People want and demand stricter gun control laws in California.
No, they don't.
Oh, sure they do.
No, they don't.
Oh, come on. Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Just ask any leftist around here, and you're going to find
that, if you ask a leftist around here, they will.
Hey, I want to ask you when we get back.
Sure.
I really do want to talk about Beto O'Rourke because I've got a great audio cut, and I'd like to discuss how this would be.
Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke, do you like? Have you heard the Sackheads Against Tyranny show before?
Yeah, never before. I was Sackheads. Everybody's I'm against tyranny too. Nobody likes tyranny. Trump is clearly tyrannical, tyrannosaur, like the Rex.
Tyrannical Rex.
Yeah, like the Rex, like the dinosaur. He's like a dinosaur, just an old dinosaur, tyrannical dinosaur. Matter of fact, many of you don't know that. That's what the Tyrannosaurus Rex was named after. As a matter of fact, we're going to change the name to the Trump Rex. Because he's so tyrannical. So I'm against tyrants. I know you're against tyrants. This is what brings America together. So it's what's so beautiful about our process right here, BZ and Clinton. I want to thank you for having me here because I'm with you. I'm against tyrannicals too. And
thank you.
The Trump Rex is something that clearly we need to stop. So I'm with you guys. I want to be a sackhead too. I just want a sack all over my head. Just that's what I want. Just big old sackhead like you guys against the tyrannical Trump, the Trumpical Rex. So it is, and that's what I'm getting here, because you guys are praising Gavin, which I think is fantastic, and it's like we need like-minded individuals like you, and hope you donate money. Again, Miss Beto O'Rourke is BAYTOEHX. 4-2, and
the 2 is silent on that, isn't it?
Yeah, so's the 4.
Okay,
but it's a thank you. It's
okay. Now let's pause for a second. Okay, there's my second Sackheads commercial. Thank you very much. See, I had to have a little pause in there, so when I edit that thing together, that I've got enough for one promo, and I think just with that I've got enough for a second promo. So what I'll do is I'll play this show back, and in Audacity, now that I can go clippity clip, and thank you. I mean, I don't have to recruit anybody. I mean, I've got my audio cut right there. I can put it out in the new promo pack 11 or 12 that's going to be coming out to all the people on SHR. So hey, you just saved me, sir. You saved me an ass load of money.
As a matter of fact, if anybody would like me to do that voice for a promo for their show, you can feel free to email BZ. We'll set it up. We'll set a price, and we'll...
Sure. And you'll go straight ahead with it. Hey, why can't you make a couple of dollars on that?
Right?
It's like I said, your Beto is infinitely better than my Beto. And with a script, who knows where you could go?
I go all over the place.
You could go all over the place.
Yeah, it could get pretty ugly. Let's take a break. We're up against a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
When we come back, are we gonna...
I want to ask you about a new governor.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, and then I want to have Beto speak to us, and then I want your thoughts about Beto's speech.
We only have 30 minutes left.
I know.
We're not even going to get to Turkey or China.
Oh my God!
Or the NBA.
There's so much stuff to talk
Oh
about.
my gosh.
But these, I mean, you can decide what we're going to do after that. But I want to talk to you about this potential governor, and then I want to talk to you and show you and ask you about, hey, Beto says X. What do you think about that, and what can we do about it?
Hey, let's do it. That sounds fantastic. BC, thank you.
Oh, hey, Beto, since you're here, can you say, let's see, can you say, damn
what? Like that?
No. I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out
when we come back. We'll be right back after this.
We'll be right back.
With Beto O'Rourke and Clint and BZ. Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
Right.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media
I like
Network.
the color red, though. It's like
From a
communist
public
color.
locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
No surrender, ever.
because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian Sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. It's the final 25. The final 25 minutes of the Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's a real chat show.
Literally. There's a great movie coming out that I've been wanting to tell you about, and I don't know if you've seen the previews for it yet.
No, what is it?
It's named after one of my favorite movies of all time. It shares a name with it, and it's the same subject matter, but I'm excited to see it. It's Midway.
Oh, the remake of the 1974
I don't know
movie.
I don't know if it's a remake.
Well, it's got to be a remake. The original Midway was 1974.
It was, but I don't know if it's a true remake or if it is just another telling of the same story.
Yeah, it could be a retelling.
Yeah, it's because
right.
it's difficult when you're having a historic, a remake is easy, right? Because you're making the same fictitious movie again. But I don't know if it's considered a remake if it's about the same event. But it looks good. Woody Harrelson is one of the admirals.
I did see a trailer of it.
Yeah.
God. The guy that was in this particular scary movie, he's in it. He's the main protagonist. I can't think of the guy's name. He's not a major actor, but I like his stuff.
In Midway?
In the newest Midway.
He's a protagonist?
Yeah, he's the guy that says we need to listen to what's going on.
Yes.
DC is wrong and I'm right. There's going to be an attack at Pearl Harbor.
Washington is wrong.
Yeah. Now, in chat, while we were busy, otherwise occupied,
Occupado.
The lovely Alaskan said, hey, you think your state is stupid? Check this out. So he sent me a story that says, new bill would ban the sale and distribution of all balloons in Massachusetts, add fine up to $100. A bill which would ban the sale and distribution of all balloons is under consideration by Massachusetts lawmakers. So doesn't that tickle your brain housing group saying, oh, okay, well, why?
Listen, BZ.
Yeah.
It's clear why.
Why do you think so, Beto?
So because when you release a balloon, there's a couple things that can happen. It floats up in the air.
Right.
And as you're well aware, that airspace is controlled by the federal government.
Yes, it is.
And if you have a balloon that's actually going up into a space controlled by the federal government, what if it gets in the plane's way? Or, gosh forbid, I don't believe in God, but
I know.
Gosh forbid, what if it interferes with the birds?
Right.
That's
right.
Or what if it casts a shadow on that beautiful little blossoming tomato plant?
And two birds collide midair.
Or that shadow created from that balloon rising through the air over that little tomato plant. Now that tomato plant doesn't thrive.
No.
And people have to eat meat.
You have made some excellent points.
Which eating meat like a vegan is the way to go because poor animals shouldn't suffer. But then again, if we don't eat meat, then cows are just going to proliferate and their gas will contribute. Oh my God, my head's going to explode.
I know, it's true. You and Sarah are in perfect congruent thinking. The bill was introduced by State Representative Sarah Peake at the State House Tuesday. It prohibits the sale of any balloons, including but not limited to.
Including but not limited to.
Very important.
Very important.
Important aspect.
Yes.
Not limited to plastic, latex, or mylar filled with any type of lighter than air gas, both for public and private use. The fine for violating the ban would be up to $100. The ban would also apply to the release of such balloons into the sky. Such a ban could have an effect on parades. Spirit of Springfield President Judy Matt told the Western Mass News a ban would impact the coming parade of the big balloons following Thanksgiving, but that the show would go on. So we need to ban balloons.
So I have a question.
So I don't see anything in here that says anything other, really, than what Beto has already said.
Is it only balloons filled with a lighter than air gas causing them to rise? Or is it all balloons, period? And then it's a different subsection. Any plastic, latex, or mylar filled with any type of lighter than air gas. So you can still have a balloon
at your birthday party inside,
and you could blow it up with your hot air.
Sure.
And it would sink
if it falls to the ground,
you're okay. Correct. So let me ask you this: what if I fuck these guys? What if I blow these balloons up with my breath?
Where you're going already?
Right. I blow these balloons with my breath. And then I have a huge fan.
Oh, yeah.
And the fans
kicks them all vertical.
Blows them vertically up into the air. Technically, I'm not in violation.
No, you wouldn't be.
What if I'm flying in an airplane?
And you have the fuselage filled with
No, not because that may be some FAA stuff. So I'm on the second story of a house. And there's a birthday party going on below,
right.
And I release balloons that I've blown up with my exhalations,
right.
And I release them out, and I throw them up in the air so that everybody down below can see them up in the air. They're beautiful. And what am I? I'm not in violation.
Technically, no.
Right?
I think you just found a loophole.
All right. I like it.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Here's a new individual that allegedly is thinking about running for governor of the state of California.
Oh.
And I'll just throw the name out there. What do you think of James Woods?
The actor?
Yes.
I don't know enough about his politics.
You are not a follower of Twitter, but
I am not.
James Woods is a conservative Twitter warrior until he got kicked off of Twitter.
That's good. You know what? Hey, when you advocate for some of those radical positions like that, it's just you can't have speech like that in a free society. It doesn't work out well.
So here's the precedent. We've done Ronald Reagan, we've done Arnold, who was no conservative.
Yeah.
And now James Woods. What you don't know about James Woods is he's been personally affected on Twitter, in social media, and also by Hollywood, because he's a fairly well-known conservative in Hollywood, and after that came out, literally he was frozen out of Hollywood for major roles because they wouldn't hire him. He's a conservative. Another thing,
how has there been no lawsuit filed?
I don't know on what you would predicate that. I don't know how you'd
discrimination
prove,
based on political.
I know, but you're dealing with a private entity that has the ability to hire.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, he's a Caucasoid. Think about his paint job. He's an older male, so you can get away with it. Mm-hmm. What you don't know is that if you look into Wood's background, he is literally a genius. He's a member of Mensa. And that's something that's not well known about him. So we've tried any number of other people. He says that he's considering, depending upon what happens with Gavin Newsom, he may throw his hat in the ring if something happens to Newsom, like it happened to Gray Davis, because we kicked Gray Davis out. That's how Arnie came into the state of California, because Gray Davis was a massive empty suit.
Gray Davis got blamed for the power issues California was having.
Oh,
honestly, it was not Gray Davis's
it was not
fault.
Gray Davis.
It really was not Gray Davis's fault.
Gray Davis was so incompetent, he probably couldn't have struck a match and walked straight.
He got
at
kicked
the
out
same
because
time.
people were pissed off.
That's true.
About losing
was,
their power.
He was the recipient.
scapegoat.
He was the
a
recipient
scapegoat.
of California ire at the time. Yeah.
He was. I want to be fair to him.
Yeah, much as I hate to.
Got to be fair to him.
That's pretty much true. Anyway, I think the thing about the legislature, balloon in Massachusetts, is like if that's what you've got to worry about,
that's what you're spending your time passing legislation on.
That's what you think is really important. Man, your life must be so perfect, so perfect.
Is it still a misdemeanor to spit on the sidewalk in the city of Sacramento?
Well, you know, that's interesting.
Expectorating in public.
When I was a deputy, we had Sacramento County codes that we could enforce. Now, Sacramento County code, none of them were infractions. They were all misdemeanors,
yes.
Which means that because they were a misdemeanor, I had the discretion to cite or physically arrest because it was a misdemeanor. I maybe made a handful of citations over something like that. That law in the city of Sacramento, who knows?
That's just an asshole law. That's what that is.
Yeah, it is.
That's an asshole law.
Yeah, if you're a dick, then yeah, we'll find something. We'll find something. This is a story from Newsweek. What do we got? We got 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Yeah, we can do this.
We can do it.
This is a story from Newsweek. Under the section of analysis, the headline is Beto O'Rourke suggests police would visit, now there are quotes on that, visit homes to implement proposed assault weapons ban. So you can read the story, or I can just play this 1.5-minute cut for you, because here's Beto himself just talking about it.
So, Congressman, let me ask you, let's say I have an AR-15. I bought it legally 5 years ago. I'm a law-abiding citizen. You want to buy it back as President of the United States. I say no. You give me other incentives. I say no. I bought this legally. I'm keeping this. I live on a ranch. I need it for protection. What would you do then?
Here we go. Come on.
First of all, I wouldn't concede the point on following the law. I don't know you well, Joe, but I know you well enough to expect you to follow the law, even if it's a law that you disagree with. I think it's one of the things that distinguishes us as a country. We're a country of laws.
Okay, but let's just assume that there's a rancher in Texas that doesn't, that says, I'm not going to do this because this is an unjust law and it's unconstitutional. What's the next step? I think that's what we need to concede, because there will be people that don't turn their guns back in. What's the next step for the federal government there?
Yeah, I think just as in any law that is not followed or flagrantly abused, there have to be consequences, or else there is no respect for the law. So, in that case, I think there would be a visit by law enforcement to recover that firearm and to make sure that it is purchased, bought back, so that it cannot be potentially used against somebody else.
Okay, so first question is, how does a government entity buy back something that it didn't purchase in the first place? How is that a buyback?
It's not. It's a buy.
Huh. Because the government didn't make that purchase.
Because you can't take property without just compensation.
Right.
So they have to purchase. They don't buy it back because they never had it in the first place.
Well, in Australia, God, I wish Jack Alexander was here. In Australia, it was a gun buyback in '96. I specifically remember that year. And he went on for quite some time about it. By the way, did you know in Australia, you can't have, you can't have airsoft guns. You can't have spear guns.
Oh.
If they run on compressed air.
Yeah.
And you would think, well, that's stupid because Australia is surrounded and infested with all kinds of shit that wants to kill you 24/7 on the land and in the sea.
Yeah.
And also, you can't have a crossbow and you can't have a bow for archery. I didn't know that. It wasn't just all the firearms.
Can you have a knife?
I think you
not a
can.
knife.
That's not a knife. I knew you were going to. I see what you did
Can you
there.
have you can have a knife?
I think you can.
Can you have a slingshot?
Wait a minute. I think I asked him that very same question, and Yes, I asked him that question, and I specifically said wrist rocket, and he knew what that was.
Yeah.
Because I used to have a wrist rocket with ball bearings.
Yep. Absolutely.
They
will.
They
Yes, they
can,
will.
And no, you can't in Australia.
Really?
Yes. Is that not crazy?
For any reason?
No, none.
You can't hunt?
It's like, what do you use? I guess you can. You could have rifles. You can't have rifles. You can't have shotguns. Handguns are verboten. I don't get that. But what worked for Australia, the Australian model, and the word buyback now is inherent in everything that it used to be just like a year ago that leftists would couch their terms in, or maybe 2 years ago. They would say something similar to, oh, we're not ever going to confiscate your guns.
Right.
To now, after 2016 and 2017 and now 2018, now they're just in the open saying, yeah, fuck yeah, we're gonna confiscate
and
your guns.
we're gonna send cops to your door.
Yeah, and now we're gonna send
get 'em
cops to your door.
because we're not gonna take them from you.
It's a buyback.
We're gonna buy them from you.
Oh yeah, it's a buyback.
Yeah.
We may give you $1 for every $100 in value
because we
but
think
it's our
that's
value.
fair.
It's what we perceive as the value
because
of
it's
that weapon.
used. It's used.
Yeah, it's not new.
It's got to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So let me ask you a question. If you have a rifle and you take the firing pin out,
okay,
or if you have an AR-15, you just take the lower is what's registered. So you take the firing pin out. It's not a functional rifle.
Oh my God! You just opened a door, and we don't have time to go through this right now.
But you keep the firing pin in case shit goes really sideways.
On an AR-15, if you didn't know this, folks, and maybe I'm going into the weeds a little bit much, there is an upper receiver and a lower receiver. The lower receiver is that's
the weapon.
It's that which contains the trigger group.
Mm-hmm.
And that on an AR-15, that is essentially the only part in California that is considered a firearm because allegedly you need a serial number on that, but exactly you don't. And that's a story for another day. And if you haven't seen that story, I'll send it to you.
The 80%?
Because ATF is losing their brains right now about that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll go into that later. I want to run this by you, though, and maybe this will be the last story for the show tonight. I'm not sure. I came across a story from Fox 5, which is in Las Vegas, and it lit me up, and it made me wonder, it's like, oh my God, it's been 2 years since the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. And what is it that we happen to know about the deadliest shooting in U.S. history? 2 years ago, 58 people got killed when this dude opened up in the Mandalay Bay Casino on the 30th floor, 31st floor, or something like that. It was a country music festival, Route 91 music festival in Las Vegas, and 58 people were killed in 2 years. Sackheads Clint. What do we know?
Nothing.
We know absolutely nothing. And I cannot help but think that with the massive investigation that went on, and do you not get the feeling that this has been swept under the rug and people are not addressing it? They've forgotten about it because the average American has the memory of a gnat, if that. But we still don't know about this guy after 2 years, or if we do, none of the information that's been uncovered has been made public.
Has the investigation been closed?
That's an excellent question. I could not tell you. I do not know.
And I think that would be, that's why I believe we haven't heard anything. I don't believe, and maybe it is. Maybe it closed and I missed it, but I don't think the investigation is closed. I think that they are working a case, and perhaps they think they are going to get prosecution of some kind. So perhaps that's why they're not releasing it, because they can't. Usually, if there's think about it, right, BZ? If there's on cases where there's no prosecution, there's no anything, what do? They wrap up the investigation, the report gets done, there's no prosecution, it becomes public record, right?
Yeah, and then it just gets filed,
it's filed, or it's released to the public during a PRA or something. That I don't.
Or
think
if there's
that's
new information,
here.
you have the ability to reopen the case,
right?
But upon the revelation of new evidence, etc.
Right, but once it's closed, it can become public record,
sure,
right? Unless you leave it open for some reason. So I have to wonder if they think they can get some kind of prosecution out of this.
Two questions.
That they're working the case. I don't know.
2 questions. I know my answer, but I'd like to ask you. Originally, 2 years ago, did any of this pass your smell test?
No.
2 years hence, does any of this pass your smell test?
No.
And apparently, the sad aspect about it is the lives of 58 people, we can only conclude, doesn't mean anything. It was a tool. But what did we do, or what was done in society to this guy Paddock, that he decided for whatever reason that this was what he was going to do that night at that location? You can't tell me there isn't more to the story.
I think there is, and I think that's why we haven't heard anything on the investigation.
Because it won't be good. I don't think
I don't think they're done.
That is potentially to be revealed, that it would stink terribly.
Maybe. I don't think they're done. And it could literally be something as simple as there's a lot to unravel, and there is, obviously. But they are not done, and they're not prepared to release those for whatever reason. Maybe, like I said, maybe there's some kind of prosecution that's going to happen. Look, no matter what no matter what the story is, it's not going to be good, right?
No.
No matter what the story is, it's not going to be good.
But just knowing the history of things of this nature and being in the job that I once inhabited, it didn't pass the smell test then, and it doesn't pass the smell test now. I think we have time for one more interesting story, because we had about 4 minutes. And I'm curious what you think about this.
It's fucked up.
Someone recently came out and decided that they were going to endorse Bernie Sanders for president.
Yes, I actually think that's great. It's
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came out and decided that she, of all the people that she could endorse
Same with
for
Tlaib,
president,
right?
I don't know about Tlaib. I haven't seen anything on her, but I know for a fact AOC has said, yes, I am in Bernie Sanders' court. Here's what I'm initially thinking. By the way, that's a helicopter that you hear circling around outside, because we've got the door open because it's so beautiful out there tonight. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It is, and it might be the government looking for us.
It could be. If so, they'll find us. I'm guessing that AOC has decided that she's going to back Bernie because Bernie is more in keeping with her thinking in terms of Democrat, socialist, and communism. But I also find it intriguing that she's decided she ain't backing a chick. She's instead backing an ancient 78-year-old
old white dude,
white guy, instead of Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or Klobuchar or who's the chick?
Thanks, Alaskan. Tlaib and Omar backed him too.
Oh, did they? Okay, great.
Yeah, I thought it was the squad.
That's, again, why I thank you. We have a great chat room in here. Or who's the chick from Hawaii? Whose name I can't think of right now.
Yes.
Why not her? Why not any of them? We've got at least 3 women. One is elder, and the others are, they range from, their mid-40s to 30s. Why not any of them? They're the same gender. Why an old white guy? Who, by the way, I'm thinking, he ain't going nowhere. So my guess is this is nothing more than a statement. It's just a statement. What do you think, Clint?
And it is a statement. He's a communist, and that's why they're backing him. He's outward. I mean, he claims straight up that he's a socialist.
Oh, sure.
He went to the Soviet Union. Praised the former Soviet Union, and he's clearly a communist. How he can take an oath in office and swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, being an outright socialist, I have no idea, and that should be discussion for another day.
Again, Alaskan comes to my rescue. Tulsi Gabbard, thank you, sir.
I like her.
I like her too.
I actually like of all the people in the Democratic field. I actually like her.
That could maybe do something against Trump. I think she could, but she has recently been spat upon, especially
she's too conservative.
Especially last night. Oh, she took a load of crap from these folks.
She's too conservative,
and she's military.
Yes,
the military is evil.
Yep.
Evil. Are we going to be here next week?
Yes.
Do you think so?
Yep.
Do you think there's going to be a chat show next week?
I think so.
Do you think I should play the music?
Play it out.
Okay.
Play us out. Play us out, BZ. This is a fantastic show. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks, Beto. Thanks, Clint.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And thanks, Beto O'Rourke, for being here.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Taking time from your busy schedule in Texas and around the United States of America.
Yeah, it's so important to be here.
It is. It's very important.
I like your communist red shirt.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I'm expendable. So, folks, thanks for listening to the Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show. That's Sackheads Clint. I'm Sackheads BZ. Thanks to everybody for prolonging the chat room. We'll be back next Wednesday. The Sackheads Against Tyranny, a real chat show. Wednesday nights, specifically Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Beto. Thanks to Clint. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for listening in podcast. Everybody, take care. Have a great night.